There you go. Welcome to the new Strongfit episode. Don't know the number either, but that's okay. By now, you're all used to it, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We're going to talk a bit about. It's an important subject that I've been talking to with my mentoring program, and I want to make it that way. I can explain how I'm going to go with the mentoring program in 2022, but also like it's really the direction of Strongfit, and what I'm going to push in 2022. So a problem came about, and it relates to a number of things overall, but for example, emotional mapping, I think will be a good way to explain that. When I came up with emotional mapping, when I started to see the patterns emerging, I was wondering if I was making a mistake putting it out there, because it's very advanced, obviously, but it's also you're starting to get into murky waters in the sense that, like, how do you test? How do you know you're doing better? Maybe you release some emotions by doing that, but then a week later you go back to the same behavior, because releasing is not the same thing as acting on it. So, like, is there something there very important? Yeah, I think so. Should I have talked about it? Absolutely not. I think that was a mistake of mine.
I remember we had a conversation when we first met that you were very shy to talk about it and not sure if you wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, it was a mistake.
Yeah. It
was a mistake. It's just, it's part of the thing though. It's like whenever I find something, I talk about it. Like it's I've always been like that. So was it a mistake, I guess, to talk about it? No, but to go so deeply into it with people and pushing it forward, yeah, that was a mistake. So there's an arch between exploration and exploitation, right? And you have to understand where I'm coming from on this to understand a little bit better why I made the mistake that I made. T-shirt.
Sorry, we need to tell. We went shopping for Yaya, and he found a shit ton of Marvel stuff, and
Dragon Ball stuff. I have shorts that you will see.
I tried to keep his mind off of it. And
I have orange Dragon Ball shorts that you need to see. You will see them on my training videos very soon.
I don't want to give him the satisfaction, but they're my biggest nightmare.
They're so good. Anyway, you will see them.
They might disappear.
I'll buy them every week. I don't care. You will see them on Instagram. I can promise you that. Anyway, so my background as a coach, obviously, you know, martial arts, MMA, and all that stuff. But CrossFit became a very integral part of my coaching, obviously. I did CrossFit, not my thing, right? So I'm a kind of an outsider insider in CrossFit, which means I train a lot of them, a lot of game athletes, a lot of people doing CrossFit, all that stuff, right? And at the same time, loving the idea that Greg Glassman brought forward. That randomness, now they say constantly varied, but at first it was randomness, was interesting as an idea because it was proven to work. How do you know? Because you saw, especially the women, every year getting faster, stronger, better.
You're still very excited about the fact what CrossFit brought for women training.
Change it forever.
Yeah.
Like, we have to give credit where credit is due. Yes, Glassman was a freak and the whole thing, and he should be gone. Don't get me wrong. And there's a lot of stuff you don't even know about. That, I mean, stories that I can't tell because they were told to me by someone. So it's kind of hearsay in that sense, and they would not be okay with me repeating what they said anyway. So, but trust me, it's even worse than you think. Doesn't matter. His genius is there. The principles they created CrossFit on have been proven right. The shit works, especially for women. They are faster, more endurance, bigger, better, more muscular, far stronger. Like, all that shit works. And how do we know? Because it was tested, right? But it's better now, but like 6-7 years ago, there was a darkness in a way growing within Strongfit, and I think that was brought forward by, honestly, the Glassman that was basically doing his thing and not within CrossFit, and then the CrossFit Games took over, and Dave Castro had that idea that his job was to murder everybody. But what I saw was that CrossFit was going toward the top athletes and what they could endure, but forgetting that most people doing CrossFit were regular people. We are starting to develop bad habits, bad movement habits, bad imbalances, and an anxiety that seems to spiral out of control. Like, I've seen people quit CrossFit because of the open. They were putting so much pressure on themselves to be 2,000, 236 in the region. I'm like, why are you ruining your life for 6 weeks? You can't have a relationship for the time of the Open, which is 6 weeks long. You haven't done it, but you'll see what I mean. We're going to talk about this in a short while. I'll come back to this.
I don't agree.
And
with
so
that
I saw a darkness that I did not want to be a part of,
Yeah.
right? So, but I didn't want to quit CrossFit because I believe in it, and it's an integral part of what I do, and the concept, and also who I train and stuff like that. So I was like, all right, then if I'm not going to just bitch about it, I'm not going to quit, and I'm going to try to fix it. So I took what was already there within CrossFit and tried to balance it on the other side. So nervous system, how to deal with anxiety, exploration, because CrossFit was all exploitation. But by doing so and trying to balance what was there, I unbalanced
So make really like a healthy
version of it,
yeah.
healthier version of it. But by doing that, I pushed too far toward
Makes
exploration.
sense.
Is at some point, like for example, data. I'm going to explain through data and pushing how, right? Data, at some point, it's like macros when you eat, right? At some point, that was just macros give people eating disorders because it works at first. So you go, this is the way forward. But then macros, you start to measure more precisely. You start to, develop an aversion to any food that is not on the list. That's called orthorexia, stuff like that. It gives people eating disorder. Like all they think about is a number of grams on their plate. So you're relying on someone else to tell you how hungry you are.
Yeah.
It's a tremendously hurtful relationship with food. And its body as an object all the way. So data was doing that, but data also on the rowing, on the airdyne machine, where you're like, well, did I do so many meters? And then should I row? I want 58, regardless of how I feel for the day or stuff like that. So it's body as an object personified. That's where the CrossFit Games, we're bringing CrossFit to the world. That's not what CrossFit is. The concept that Greg Glassman, that I love, developed was not that. It was just constantly varied, high intensity, functional movements. Those were the constraints, right?
Yeah.
He never said go fucking nuts on data and stuff like that.
Do you think that sort of powerlifting influence came into it?
That
with all the percentages and data.
And well, it's a sport of CrossFit that brought all that, because the sport of CrossFit is people type like powerlifters, but it's also like people that didn't make it in their sport of choice that use that frustration and then that natural talent into exercising. CrossFit is not a sport; it's exercising.
Yes, exercising.
Let's be honest,
yeah,
right? The skill level. Don't get me wrong; like the snatching, all that stuff is hard, but you're still not doing it at the Olympic level outside of to me and people like that, right? So outside of very, very few people at the top, what you're doing is exercising. Your skill level is very low. Yeah. But it allows
That's
people
why it's so great for the average person, right?
Right, except to the point where they think they're athletes now. Like athletes as in like pro athletes, and then they start pushing that route and they go completely nuts and start wrecking their lives over a PR on grace. You know what I mean? Like, because I've seen that shit happen time and time again. So you had the data of people just only being able to, doing a workout on the other day, not based on how they feel that day, but what the programming said, what the time was saying. So body as an object, 100%. Body as an object and body as a subject always have to be balanced. It's an arch, not a one size fits all.
Yeah. So you think you went too much toward body as a subject?
As a subject. So I was like, you need to feel like, tension over position. Mm-hmm. Right. But that doesn't mean position does not matter. But tension at the end matters more than position. But if I'm a white belt and I explain jiu-jitsu to a guy, right, I can't just say sweep and feel the momentum of the guy. At some point,
there needs to be a grasp.
At some point, I'm going to have like, put your hand here in the gi, grab the other hand, put your knee this way, and that's how you sweep. And you do that for the first 6 months to a year of your jiu-jitsu career, and then you realize that your foot goes here, but it also can go there, and then depending on how the guy is situated, you can put your foot here, you can press, you can do this, you can scissor, but you still have to get the imbalance first. So then the stuff becomes about leverage and not about the sweep. But at first, you need to learn the technique. Otherwise, you won't go anywhere. Yeah. Right, so that was a problem. Let me fix that real fast. So it was a little bit the same thing with CrossFit, with the data, for example, that was stressing people out because they were expecting a certain number or whatever. every single time, and days in, days out, right? That's the same problem you see with programming with linear progression. Is in 1 week to the next, you're supposed to do 85% for 7, whatever, and then you miss 1 rep, and then the whole program to an end, right? That type of thing. So, well, some weeks you just don't have it. It's okay. Next week you do better. Like it's, you know what I mean? Like it's okay. Like you learn from it anyway, right? All that idea, I didn't see it in CrossFit. It was like, do the workout, murder yourself every single workout regardless. Don't spend the time to move correctly. So instead of like feel the glutes, feel the hammies, it's like knees out, look the part instead of being the part. To be the part, you first have to look the part. Like before you get what you need, you have to get what you want type of thing, right? So I was trying to balance CrossFit that way with the people that I was seeing, because I started by mostly fixing them. That's my bias. My background is, at that time, was really fixing people. I had Valerie Vobor that I trained for the CrossFit Games, but she was already great.
Yeah.
So what I had to do is refine and make sure she wasn't breaking. Yeah. So I didn't have to push body as an object. I just had to make sure she was balanced. My job was to balance body as an object, as a subject.
So you really trained the more advanced people. So you created that concept more for an advanced athlete,
and
right?
And even on the new people, like regular people coming to me, they had a CrossFit gym they were going to. They were in charge of going nuts. I was just in charge of making sure they didn't break. Just like you had your track stuff. My job was to make sure you didn't break during track.
Yeah.
So I don't have to take into account the track thing. I just got to do my job, which is balancing what they're doing over there.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how Strongfit was built, really. The problem at some point is like when you start to push this way, it's like imagine if I take you and then you really stop doing track, you just start to find your hammies.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at some point you can't run anymore because you still need to run track to get faster. At some point you're gonna have to run, right? So you can't just find your hammies. I'm like, find your hammies. The problem also, and then that's the mistake, and then from there I went nervous system, and from there I went emotional mapping. But now you run into a problem too. So first of all it's gonna make you soft because you stop doing the work. You stop doing that work at track or lifting or whatever, where you just push the machine and you're brutal on yourself in order to achieve progress. You need some of that. The problem is when there was only that, people would break mentally or physically. So I tried to provide a balance. But then some people found this side much more interesting because it was making them make progress, and they were breaking here. So they jump on that side. But I was trying to tell them, don't jump here, do both. Yeah. But the problem is a lot of them jumped on this side. And on this side, it was all about exploration, finding your hammies and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And so over time, it created a problem. So emotional mapping is one, but even training is another. I had coaches where they would, sorry, we have a storm going out outside. It's pretty crazy. We should film it. But yeah, it's very pretty, but man, is there a storm. With sun and everything. It's pretty impressive.
28 degrees with sun while
it's going. Anyway, so coach hurts athlete, doesn't matter, hurts his back doing a squat. All right, so sandbag squats, find your hammies, don't press the knees out, tack, 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 tack. Okay, a year later though, and then you start to go that route. At some point, you got to squat. Because remember that the point of doing all that was to find a way to squat. Not to get just better at sandbag squats, even though that can be a conversation on whether you should squat a barbell or not. But if the work that you've done is successful, then you should be able to squat a barbell. That was the point. At that weight without blowing up your back. So if you find your hammies, you find your glutes, and you spend 45 minutes on warming up, but then I put you under a barbell and you blow up your back, guess what? We failed. And so this is what I saw, that Strongfit was starting to fail. In the sense of people were so far into nervous system, breathing, movement patterns are okay, but like exploration and emotional mapping, that they stopped training for the work. Like that hardcore the work where you push and then you get the sled and then you do all that stuff. And then that was an issue. That's an issue I saw even like teaching coaching assessments, right? So whenever someone comes, has a shoulder problem. You're like, all right, so you do an assessment, you fax, and then you start to do the thing, and then in a lot of cases, what you see is the traps getting too active. People don't have either the pecs or the teres major. Not always, but often, right? Things like that. So you do the assessment, and you see, well, that's the problem. So a lot of my coaches got very good at that one. they have the coach's eye. They can spot what is not, correct, not enough muscle there. Like you can activate that and all that stuff. Awesome, great. At some point, you have to understand, that's not why people hired you for. They hired you to not have the shoulder pain anymore. Yeah. So you can do a great assessment, make good money on that, by the way, and have a great coach's eye. And I'm like, and now what? Because now the work starts. Right, the work starts now. Now is what are we going to do in order to fix you? So then there has to be a progression, there has to be programming, there has to be, and you can't just say, go find your lats. Go find a terrace major. Like, I'm sorry, but that's bullshit. Bullshit. Like you asking people to do it, but that's not what they're hiring you for. They're hiring you to fix it. And if I say go find your lats, the great news about that is you can't prove me wrong. Anytime you come back and you say my shoulder hurts, it's like you didn't find your lats. But there is no measurement that I'm giving you one way or another that allow you to know if you're doing better or not. Oh, I fell my back. Oh, good, and you found your lats, but my shoulder hurts, then find them more. You know what I mean? Like that can be, you can make excuses with that shit really fast, right? At some point, measurements, data, and all that stuff has to take place. You have to test and see if you're doing better or not.
So what you really discovered in 2021 is that it needs to be more of an arch, and that's what you want to go towards more in 2022?
Right.
Or what you've been going to more and more yourself?
Right.
Already?
Like I started to spot some problems with emotional mapping with that. It's like, and it's a fascinating subject, so I understand why people want to go there. There's something there that is so intriguing, right? But at the same time, this is not measurable. Like, I put you through sandbag workouts and you release some emotions. I'm like, okay, then what? So you saw something within you, all right? Are you going to do something about it? Because my experience, like emotional mapping is 5-6 years, is for 99% of people out there, they go back to exactly the same behavior a week later. You know why? Because the work starts now. Releasing the emotion during a workout doesn't do shit. Doesn't do anything. Like outside of messing you up mentally, what it doesn't do is fix you. It just opens a door that you're supposed to walk through.
You still have to walk through that door.
Difference between Morpheus and Neo.
Yeah.
Which you don't
have no idea what you're saying.
Almost perfect. That's the difference between the two. Is Morpheus, not Neo. Like I can show you the door, but you're the one who has to walk through it. Like the work starts now. That's all that stuff is for you to see the work so the work can start. And that's my mistake. That is my mistake because I was so enthusiastic about it and I pushed it so much that I did not.
But you also saw such a big need of it. I think that's what's
right. Yeah, like you were saying.
I think you saw such a big need of it that like.
I got excited.
Yeah,
But at the time, again, I knew it was a mistake. Like I felt it was a mistake, but I just went with it anyway because the need is there and it's such an intriguing thing. Like Reich got at it. Like there's such a powerful thing there, but. Is it necessary for your business as a coach? No, it's such a small percentage. But then it became like too big of a percentage of Strongfit. It became too much of an attraction. It started to hide the reality of the work that needs to be done. And you know what the work that needs to be done is? Squat, deadlift, farmer's carry, yoke carries, like strongman stuff, pushing the machine, making progress. You have to make progress. So, dealing with anxiety and all that stuff, yes, because as a coach, when you see anxiety, you'll understand better failure. Are they failing mentally? Are they failing physically? Are they failing socially? Like the types of anxiety will tell you where the fail is so we can start to play with that. So that aspect of it was extremely beneficial. It allowed me to know where people fail. That is one of the greatest things that I came up with is that. One of the most important things that I came up with was that. So that came to me through emotional mapping. So there was a necessity there. But in the meantime, that was a mistake. And I'm the first one to say it. Like it was way too much in exploration. Like, find your pecs, find your love. No, sorry.
But like, first, that's one thing that I like about you a lot is that you're never comfortable in what you are. Like you're constantly looking for what can be better. What am I doing right now? Where am I? You're really honest with yourself. And for you to, like, I know how much work you put in all of it, and I also know that you go through certain phases where you explore that corner completely. Yeah. And I think you did a lot of that in the past time,
right.
And that you're now finding a new um, medium, like a
better balance.
a
A better
better
balance.
balance.
I unbalance the thing. There's
but
no
it's
question.
also
but, yeah.
the power that you have is that you go into a rabbit hole and you just go in
Right.
and in and in, and that's how you figured a lot
That's
of
how I
the
figure
left
things
side.
out. No,
Yeah.
there's no question, but that doesn't change the fact that a
No, but
mistake was made. I mean, yeah, I know.
I just think that people should understand that that part of you better, because it's
Yeah.
it's a great part of you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a part that works. But in the meantime, I am seeing a pattern that is very dangerous of people getting soft. Like, oh, I'm going to need to find my hammies. No, you need to fucking put more weight on the squat or the deadlift or stuff. Like, we need to fix things.
And
Right, that's what we do.
especially in
So,
the time we're in right now, I think is taking action towards something is so.
well, right now it's so important, but
So
action
important.
also measurable action. And so I spend a lot of time criticizing data in the sense of if you go too far and it takes you to body as an object alone, you'll get massive anxiety out of it. That doesn't mean we should not measure what we do. Back to CrossFit, that's the greatest thing Glassman brought up is like, how come in fitness there is no measuring? And he was right. So that's why he created the Nasty Girls, because that workout, you do it 6 months later, you know if you get better at it.
Yeah.
We're gonna go over that. So what I want now is, and that's why I'm doing right now that module about programming, is because I want people to understand that it's great to be on that side of exploration, but exploitation, you need to know that. You need to know what the linear progression is, the conjugate system. You need to know how to program, first of all. And after that, you need to know how to program for your client. Then after that, you need to know how to program the Strongfit principles, how to apply them to people.
Yeah.
So for example, for the mentoring program starting 2022, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them exercises. You have this fictitious client, program for that person. That person comes to you for anxiety. What would you do? That person comes to you for their knee hurts on the squat. What would you do? Obviously, you don't have a video, so we'll have to.
So you're going to do more of a practical
stuff. Yeah.
stuff in there.
You know what worked really well out of the anxiety stuff that we did? That is like when the person is socially, that's what they do. When a person fails because of physical pain, that's what they do. And then the lactate came in. But that allows you to be practical. When you have a client, how do you deal with that? In a measurable way to know if they're doing better or not. We have to stop. What frustrates me the most is the stuff where you cannot be proven wrong. If you cannot be proven wrong, this is not science. Science is not empirical evidence, is none of that shit. Science is you have to be able to be proven wrong. If you cannot, it's not science. So if I say stuff like, safeties in the hammies, that's not science. Like, this is what I saw through experience. Can I prove it? I cannot. But the thing is, you cannot disprove it either. That's how you know. So just because I cannot prove something doesn't mean it's not science. But if I cannot disprove it, then it's a fallacy. So when you say stuff like that, no one can disprove you, because you can say safeties in the hammies. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, because you can't find your hammies. Well, I can contract my hammies. That doesn't mean you can find them. Can you find? And then I can always bullshit my way through so that you can never prove me wrong on the conversation. That frustrates me a lot. It's the same thing as like, my squat is this, my squat is that. Like, are you 2 years squatting? Are you putting more weight on the bar? If not, we have a problem. It has to be that. Two, also, not just that, but it has to be also that. Right.
Criticism.
So let me make my point using CrossFit. So one of us started CrossFit 3 weeks ago.
Month, actually.
A month ago.
Yeah.
And he's enjoying it very much so.
Yeah.
So how many times a day do you train now? 2, 3?
Yeah.
She's a CrossFitter.
I am a CrossFitter.
She's a CrossFitter all the way. Started a month ago. She's training twice a day. And
6 days out of the week. I love it so much. It's exercising. It's great.
Like, you see that look in her eyes?
And it fully satisfied my obsession side. It's great.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
She's making progress. She's happy and everything. So
it's cool. It's really cool. Like when I was in track, I did lifting, but I also had one coach who sometimes put me through like CrossFit workouts, which I always loved. But I did track, so I was like, I do track. And when we did it, like started powerlifting and everything, he said like you should go
Maybe.
try it, and I tried it, and it's pretty fucking awesome. I like it a lot.
Do you know why? Can you tell based on yourself?
Yeah, I think I can, because it's I recover really fast. That's one thing. I don't really feel tired. I get energy out of it. I look forward to it.
But why do you get energy out of it?
Because it's more steady. Because it's such high volume, I don't get too obsessive. So I can just do a lot of stuff.
So
that's cool.
So there's less specialization.
Yeah, and I noticed that when I do like more like lifting, pure lifting, like one thing, I can overthink it so much, and in that I can just push.
And
I'm allowed to push, and that's something that I loved in training. Always, I like pushing.
You just like training hard.
I like training hard, and that's what.
Right,
CrossFit.
and
I like
that's
exercising.
the point I was making. You see that beginning of CrossFit like that is based on that. Women, it seems to be a feminine energy. So I don't know if it's women, but it's like a feminine energy. They overthink things easily.
Yeah, and especially the type of athlete or person I am, I'm very
obsessive.
Obsessive.
So she says precise, I say obsessive. But, potato, yeah, right. To each his own. We're just going to phrase it differently, but yeah.
The glass is half full, not half empty, no?
Exactly. So prone to anxiety.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's your typical CrossFitter, right? That's why I knew she was going to do really well.
Over the hill is when I bought the shoes, and then.
No. Okay. Do you know how to recognize a CrossFitter if someone is going to be good at CrossFit or not? They cannot sit through a movie.
Oh yeah, I couldn't. Like yesterday, we watched Dune, and
really
it was torture. It's just I hate movies. I hate movie theaters. I hate watching movies. I hate everything that's longer than 45 minutes.
That's a CrossFitter. I know enough CrossFitter to tell you that's how you recognize a good one.
But for now, I don't necessarily want something out of it. I just really like to do it.
Right.
That's really cool.
But again, you don't want something out of it. So this is a pattern you're going to see with CrossFit a lot. And there's the arch exploration versus exploitation. When they first go into CrossFit, there's a huge side that is on the exploration because all the movements are new. You're trying different stuff, so you can never overthink. Overthinking is body as an object. Always, right? You're starting to push your body into doing what you want instead of what is needed. Mm-hmm. Right now, you can't do that because the movements are new. You need to do all the stuff. So that's working really, really, really well as an arch, right? What you see is usually within the next 2 years, you start to specialize in CrossFit. And then the overthinking behavior starts building up again because now you know all the movements. You can't just push anymore. You have to get better at the minutiae. Mm-hmm. Like that 80-20 rule stops to apply. And now you're in the 80-20 phase. And that's where people start to lose their shit. Because now it's about becoming good, which means beating the other women next to you on the leaderboard instead of learning the sport itself.
Yeah.
And so that's where it turns a problem. But so if we understand that correctly, and that was the point of Strongfit, is then the point of a good CrossFit coach would be to keep that mindset going.
Yeah.
We know we're going to run into a block around the 2-year mark, maybe a bit before, because you're going to go fast, right? And the key will be to establish the right mindset moving forward so that you don't run into that obsessive behavior driving you into the ground.
Well, that's an interesting note that I wanted to add is that I think I could never do any type of lifting or CrossFit. But I can't really talk about CrossFit yet because I do it for a month, so I feel like I really don't have any knowledge on it anyway. But I have such great experience of going too far in sprint that I really notice the difference with having fun and being obsessive. So I'm really happy that I start lifting at an older age than when I started track. Yeah. Because track I went too far into the obsessive side where I didn't enjoy it anymore, and I really don't want that from the next thing I like. But
maybe there's also a very specific personality type that just cannot hyper specialize.
Oh, that's also possible.
Women are better at multitasking. If you look, CrossFit is functioning way better for women and for men. Men are not that strong. Women are very strong. Yeah, the multitasking versus a hyper specialization. Maybe hyper specialization of women is a bad idea because we see that in the programming where when you start to do like a pure powerlifting programming for women doesn't seem to be working that well.
Yeah.
They always need volume, they always need outside stuff. I don't think hyper specialization works for women. And I think the stress they feel out of the open is because at some point when we come from CrossFit, the system, to CrossFit, the sport, you start to hyper specialize in specific workouts. Because then if you look for the open, there's 10 movements. You have the double unders, the wall ball, like some barbell work, some gymnastic work, and rope climbs, and then that's it. And some running, and you're done. Like it doesn't move outside of 10 movements after that. And so it takes 2 years, but then you get to hyper specialization, and I think that's where the anxiety starts to shoot through the roof. For not especially women, but more like a feminine energy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you understand,
let's call it feminine, masculine energy.
It's better than men and women because people belong on both sides, or both sides at the same time. You, no?
Well, I think I have a very masculine
type.
Energy.
As well as feminine. You have both.
Feminine.
You have
really
both.
have both.
So, but the way, then I think the way forward is to understand that arch.
Yeah, but what do you think, what would you do with that athlete that gets to the 2-year mark where they become too...
Well, then it's before that we need to do.
So
that's
how
the
would
point.
You approach it with an
But that's the thing, is never the hyper specialization has to be stopped before we get there, which means so data at first is going to be very important and testing is going to be important, but that means that when we get to the phase where the person wants to compete or whatever, we cannot go too far into the data driven. Where do I compare versus others? You want to drive women crazy? Start comparing her to other women. Oh my God, like that will spike so fast, right? So to keep, and that's CJ from Invictus spends a lot of time doing that. It's like the other ones that don't matter and stuff like that. So I think when we start to get toward specializing toward CrossFit as a sport, for the women, especially the more driven ones, there has to be a huge part. No, not psycho, just driven. There has to be a huge part of. Psycho. There you go. Then you can do it. I can't. I know that. But there has to be a huge part where we have to keep the exploration side open, so that we do not ever hyper specialize. We can keep making you better at CrossFit without hyper specialization. Yeah. I think that's where things get nasty. So you can incorporate like strongman exercises, bodybuilding exercises, maybe going back to running, learning always. I mean, because if we start to go body as an object, you're doomed to fail. That you can counteract through the Strongfit principle. But my whole point is that you cannot just do the Strongfit principles toward exploration and not understanding that those principles apply toward exploitation. So the balance was like, it's not enough to just find your hammies. They have to also be tested and be effective in deadlifting, carries, stuff like that. So I don't care if we do that through CrossFit or Strongman like I do or whatever, it doesn't matter. There has to be a test. There has to be hard work put in. Real hard work, not just hard work of exploration. Hard work of, I'm working my ass off under a 800-pound yoke carry and it hurts everywhere. Mm-hmm. Don't get soft. If you go too far on the exploration side, you get soft. Don't do that. You have to be able. So, for example, you did Helen this morning, right? And you're kind of angry that you took a minute and a half more than me to do it. I'm just going to put it out there.
No, but it's not even the time. Like, I got so, like, I didn't know what to expect. And I also didn't, like, I just read the stuff and I was like, let's see what's going to happen.
She ran the 400 meters in a minute and a half.
No, okay, I murdered myself.
Every 400 meters. Then she took like...
And I took as long for the exercises.
Nine and a half. Yeah. Right, but she ran every 400 meters in one and a half.
Yeah.
And so she took 5 minutes to do kettlebell swings and pull up, just to give you an idea. Just also to give you an idea how good she's going to be. But
I mean, like, afterwards, my lungs were like out of my breath. But it was like, I did a whole Olympic weightlifting.
It's a long exercise, though. You have to understand, it's a long workout.
Yeah.
Helen is a long workout. It's not designed to murder your body. It's designed to murder your lungs.
Yeah, so, but I mean, so afterwards, I finished the thing. And I feel, because I know that feeling of track, that running pain, so I recover from that very fast. So I'm like, 3 minutes afterwards, I'm like, the fact that I could do this again is not a good sign.
Right. Yeah, you're right about that.
This is not a good sign.
Right. But this is my point. Like, so now suddenly you go like, ooh, divergent mindset, like progress, and then like, ooh.
Yeah,
ooh,
but I also don't want to do it again. I'm gonna wait until like a month or two from now because I do like all the girls now. Yeah. I do like 2 or 3 per week because I want to try.
On average.
On average, and I like it a lot because it's you see that the strategy of it, like you can.
Yeah.
That's what I like a lot, is that you can like time it, and you can focus. For example, you can make more like a running workout, or you make it more focused on this, and you push more on that.
You can't do that during specialization. If you do strongman, you just do a yoke carry. There's none of the strategies and all that stuff.
That's cool.
That's way more toward the competition aspect of it. It feeds that type of behavior. But you see, like if you can't figure out the person, then you won't figure out how to keep them away from losing their mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that part of Strongfit was necessary to understand anxiety, for me to understand what the fail is, so that we can make sure you don't fail into anxiety that will crush you. But that being said, you still have to go hard.
The thing is with the Strongfit principles, if I would not have learned them and lived them the past 2 years, I was not able, like I would lose my shit so bad in this if if I did this 2 years ago. Like I mean like batshit crazy.
More
like really like
because that's nothing.
This is nothing. Exactly. I'm chill now.
Exactly. Yeah.
this is
very
chill
compared to normal behavior. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's
which
like
tells me she's gonna be very good at CrossFit.
The clean and the push. How is that one called again? I forgot.
Clean and jerk. And you can push press when you did Grace.
Yeah, Grace. Like for example, that is such a, like if you have no expectations of it, it's a really weird workout because you don't know how much it's gonna hurt, and you don't understand that you have to push a lot harder than you think.
Yeah.
Because I finished, and I also didn't finish in a great time.
Right, exactly.
I did like 220, and I could have gone so much. Like I did a whole workout afterwards still, because I was not.
Right, so it's playing with intensity.
Yeah,
right.
That
and for the feminine energy, it's a bit harder actually.
Yeah.
And so, but again, like you're gonna get to under 2 minutes and or 140 Grace soon. So you're gonna do that hard work. Like that work has to be done.
But I also feel so much, like I feel good that now I can like find something that I can push.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Like after
mindlessly almost.
Yeah.
One might say.
No, it is mindlessly. Like for me, it is because
there's no
that
skill.
Sprint where everything is so detailed. Yeah. So this is like I can breathe again. It's like
it's a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Right. But
so nice.
But so and that's the thing I want to do. So for 2022, I'm going to do that a lot with my mentoring program, where we're going to take a month and then we're going to go like programming one-on-one or programming for classes. You have a class with this number of people, 10 people. They're mostly middle-aged. Soccer moms or like executive dudes or executive women or whatever, but that type of anxiety, that type of physical capacity on 10 people, how do you program for that versus a one-on-one? And then we'll do that for a month, and then we'll go over the squat, but are you better at the end of the month? And then we're going to start going at programming practically for people.
Yeah.
Because if we don't do that, then it's too much exploration that leads to nowhere. It's like a ship needs a port, needs a destination.
It's like people have find like a grasp on Strongfit. Like a lot of people sometimes get
it's too much.
Like a grasp of like something to hold on to for a more, like I'm a very practical learner. Like if you give me a lot of theory, I would get like a bit lost in it. I would have the same issue, but if you get something to hold on to where you can like apply it, it's gonna, I think, help. It's gonna speak to so much more coaches too, I think.
Yeah, but that's why you're also gonna see the videos of me training and stuff like that, because I need to show you like it's not enough to understand the stuff. You have to apply it.
Yeah.
But in real life, on hard training, you can't get away from that. Like you can never get away from hard work. Like this is where it starts every time. So we have to measure and we have to fix.
But I think the best conclusion of this is that everything always has to be an arch.
Always.
Like
you can, always balance. It has to be an arch. Otherwise, you'll fall either way.
Yeah.
But so what I saw is like I saw people fall the other way toward exploration and honestly being soft. But that leads to unmeasurable statements of like, oh, find this or do that, and I'm like, no, man, like. Where's the work? Like, after that, safety and the hammies and all that stuff, sure. Can you deadlift, or do you still pull that hammy on the right or whatever? Like with you, like your hammy is working better
Yeah.
How do we know? Because he gets sore when you do certain exercises, because he connects when she runs, like,
and it's also
measurable.
Like sometimes even if I lose it, I know how to like
To get
reconnect,
it back, yeah.
and that I think is so valuable. Like
But
to go to the
reconnecting,
ledge,
sprinting,
yeah.
reconnecting, deadlifting, not just reconnecting with a band, with a rubber band in the gym. We're talking about connecting in real movements.
Yeah.
When she cleans, when she does that, now she can get both hammies sore doing power cleans, for example.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah,
that is winning, because before she would clean on one leg. Right, measurable. For example, soreness is that, but at least we know it's working. Size-wise, like weight-wise, are you making progress? Are you putting more weight on the bar than 2 years ago? If not, all right, there's a problem.
Yeah.
So all that stuff has to be measured. So that's what I'm going to push toward 2022, is a far more practical approach to make sure. Maybe it was a necessary phase of Strongfit. I don't know.
Honestly, I think so.
Yeah,
because I
maybe.
think
I don't
that's
know.
how you do things, Julian. Like I think that you need credit for that too. Is that you go into things head first, like finding the whole thing, and then come back out of it and look at it from a different perspective. That's the phases you go through, and you always said that. That's what you bring in Strongfit. You take people on a certain journey, and that's what you're going through.
That I do. But in the meantime, 2022 will be then the year of practicality. Like, we need to find that top of the arch, and we need to spend some time there. Like that we need to learn to make Strongfit practical. You all have businesses, whether you're an athlete, you own your own business. If you have a coach, you have an actual business, and it needs to work for people. You need to fix their shoulder, their back, their knees, whatever, but it has to be like measurable, because people can't just take your word for it. They need to see results. They need, those need to be measured. Otherwise, it starts to get to your head too. Like, on one side, you get anxiety of people that are, over specializing and just looking at data. But on the other side, you have people that are completely lost now. Going like, well, I don't know. Or that will freak out if they see a data. If I say Q-1 and you have to look to stay at 57 on the other end, and they freak out because it's that data driven. It's not. It's just to make you stay at a certain number, because it's not a training session. It's behavior setting. But they can't even do that anymore because they're so lost because I say no data. But no data was in a specific context. So I need to clarify the context better. And that's what I want to do, especially with the mentoring program this year in 2022. I'm going to push hard on, for example, programming. How to program the Strongfit principles one-on-one and for classes.
I think it's super interesting.
And I think it's very, very necessary, because I didn't want to get into that because I was too afraid of body as an object, but it created its own problem. So what I have to do is to find a balance. I have to do the work, that's all. I just have to kick my own ass and do the work and find a way to explain the balance better.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'll do for 2022. And emotional mapping is going to go away for a while. Anyway, well, I wanted to say that. And welcome to CrossFit.
No, thank you. I have one question.
Yeah.
Why the fuck is everything overhead? Like, why the fuck is everything overhead?
Yeah. Isn't that funny?
It's so fucking...
Everything is overhead.
Everything.
That's been one of my greatest criticism. It's like, guys, planes of movement. Can we go in a frontal plane a little bit? They never do. You know why? Because in a class system, you can't put people on benches. You don't have 10 benches in your gym. But you know what you have in a box? You have 10 barbells and space.
But
so everything goes overhead.
Thank you for welcoming me into this new, interesting, fascinating world. Insanity world.
Exactly.
Where everything is overhead.
Remember the most important lesson. How do you spot a good CrossFitter? They cannot sit through a movie. Always remember that.
It was Dune. It was 2.5 hours long, and it was fucking boring.
Awesome. No, it wasn't.
It was
How
boring.
dare you? It was visually stunning.
It
Longer
was visually
conversation.
stunning, but it was really long, and I
So
should
need
have.
to read the book. And she's laughing at it. I can't fire you, but you're so lucky, because there's a part of me that goes like.
But we were in the movie theater. You were like, "Honey, stay awake."
I had to wake her up.
Honey,
She was falling asleep.
I was like,
I will never take her to the movies again, is all I'm saying. No, I'm not taking you to the movies again.
No, but I don't mind.
I know,
I
that's
don't mind.
That's what bothers me the most, is that you don't
Leave
mind.
me alone. It's
Exactly.
It's completely fine.
Oh my God. Anyway.
But it's an unpopular opinion to dislike movies, but I feel like there needs to be a voice
No,
for people
you can
that
dislike movies,
movies.
just not Dune, that's all. Oh, you want to do that podcast?
What?
the podcast when you say the things. Fine. Anyway.
Unpopular opinions.
Oh, popular. Wow. I have some. Anyway, talk to you guys soon.
Talk to you guys.